I'm so freaking happy. I did it, guys. I did it. I knew I could do it. Just gotta stay on course and never give up on your goals. Lots changed over the last 10 months. I want to tell you a story, and hopefully this motivates anyone out there looking to lose weight, who's having troubles, and losing faith in their ability to be able to do it. I know it's hard, but we can. And this is how I did it. I've struggled with my weight for a very long time, and I lost a lot of it. But as time goes on, I gained quite a bit of it back. Now, I've been working extremely hard this year, guys. There are things that come into my life that I'm like, I need to figure out how to get rid of the things that I don't want. Like, playing a victim doesn't work. Like, the victim card is so utilized these days in society. I have to admit, I've had my struggles along the way. Since completing my 90 days of running 10 kilometers each day, I fell back into some old habits, and that has caused me to gain some of the weight back. It was also hard to come back. It was also hard to come to terms with that. I felt guilty, like I had failed. I found it very difficult to upload videos to YouTube, specifically of me running when I had gained all this weight. And I just listened to an awesome podcast with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was amazing. It was on the Rich Roll podcast, and it really triggered a number of things in my head that I've been going through this year, and it's about being positive even when there's nothing to be positive about. And I pushed through this. I pushed through a lot of the self-doubt, a lot of the negativity that was inside my little noggin here, and I just started to do the hard work. I had to go through the pain, the suffering, the injustice, the victim, oh, is me. I just had to go through all of that to get to where I am now. And where I am now is in a really awesome place. I'm seeing results. I'm losing the weight. I'm running further than I have in a very long time. And that I'm grateful for, because my body is holding up to it. And I couldn't ask for anything more than that. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, in January, I did a weigh-in, and I wasn't very happy with where I was. Like, I had gained so much weight. And this is really hard for me, being very vulnerable right now. So I'm about to step on the scale. I'm gonna see what kind of damage I've done. Regardless of all of the hard work that I've been doing at building my aerobic base, I ran for like 90 days straight. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. And that finished in November. But by January, how did I gain it all back? It was so mind-numbing. It was so upsetting. I was not in a good place. But today, I'm in a very, very different place. And it's only been like 10 months. 10 months of changing how I think about things, doing the things I know that I need to do, and being consistent at it. So how do you do that when you feel like a victim? I stood in this place 3 years ago saying what I want my channel to be and how I want it to be accountable and everything else like that. But slowly after 2020, things kind of started going sideways, and I wasn't in that mindset anymore. I wasn't being the best version that I could be. I kind of lost my way. Running started to become a chore, and I got injured, and I got frustrated, and I didn't know how to kind of get out of that mindset. And it took me a bit of time. And in 2022, man, I was on a high. I was doing so much better, and I was so happy. But then at the beginning of 2023, I was like, oh, how did I get back to this all over again? And that's when I made some changes. It was hard to make some of the changes because when my daughter is home from university, there's so much food inside the house that I don't normally eat. And I found myself reaching for some of that food when I knew that it wouldn't serve me. It wouldn't put me in a good place. But I started to consume it one day. turned into 2 days, turned into 3 days. And before you know it, I'm eating chocolate and candy and things that just were not good for me. And I have a sweet tooth regardless. I've always had a sweet tooth. But it was hard. Keep her snacks in her room if she was gonna have them in the house, because it would help me since I work late and I don't go to, I'm like one of the last ones to go to bed. And so when I'm looking at the pantry and it's like 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock, and I'm editing a video, I'm looking for something, sometimes that's the food I go to. So that was the first thing I did to help me. The second thing I did was I needed to understand what my triggers were. So when I would go to an appointment at a client's house, they would say, hey Dave, would you like a coffee? And I'm a people pleaser, and I'd be like, sure, I'll have a coffee if you're having a coffee. Next thing you know, I'm having a cup of coffee, I'm having sugar in my coffee. Next thing you know, there's biscuits on the table, there's all this stuff. So I would go home and I'd feel guilty and I'd feel awful and I'd go down that rabbit hole. What I started to do with regards to that was I'd say, thank you so much, but it's a little late in the day for a cup of coffee. Even if they said decaf, I go, yeah, I just, do you have a glass of water? A glass of water would be great. I kind of steered it to a different direction that I wanted, and I was able to get the preferred drink that I knew would be better for me. I also had to ask people to not offer me things, specifically extended family. Like if I go to someone's house for a birthday or an anniversary or whatever it is, and everyone's having whatever food they want, the whole peer pressure thing can be really, really hard. So I've had to ask family and friends to say, hey, don't offer me. You guys already know that I'm plant-based. Don't offer me anything. I don't want it, right? So they respected that and they stopped asking me. And I would go and get what it is that I wanted. So I would bring some food or drinks or whatever it is that I wanted to consume, and I would have it at their house. And that way then they didn't feel bad. So it was kind of a win, like full circle. I also had a goal for myself. Oh, I gotta check this pool. Ooh, the pool is nice still. Ooh. Anyways, guys, if you're getting some value out of these videos, please give me a like, give me a comment. It always, always, always helps me. The next thing that I did was I set a goal for myself. And the goal was not to feel guilty, right? To give myself the freedom to feel the way I was gonna feel. So if I was gonna feel bad after a crappy eating day, so be it. That's what happened. But I started to treat every day as a new day. And I wouldn't get on the scale and measure myself, I wouldn't get on the scale and weigh myself every day or even every week. It was when I felt like weighing myself. And I started to see the weight start to come off. And as the weight started to come off, it was like this reinforcement that said, hey Dave, what you're doing is working. Keep at it, keep strong, keep going. And so I had these little mini goals that I could overcome, right? So goal number one was, no eating out today, no snacking today as I'm driving from appointment to appointment. Right? Take cucumbers with me or mushrooms with me and have a little bit of hummus or whatever that is. I would have it in the car and then I would reach for that as opposed to stopping and getting like a donut or a muffin or something like that. There was another thing that I would do was as I was running, I would make evaluations on how I was feeling. Was this an easy run for me? Did I feel okay? What's going on in my life? Like what's going on with the stress? I feel a sense of optimism. I can feel things starting to change. Some of my old habits are disappearing. Some new habits are now forming, slowly getting back into eating a more healthy and balanced diet. It's taking time, but I'm slowly starting to see the results. There's a little bit of weight gain, but the habit and the thoughts that go through my head throughout the day are now changing. How I think about things, including my cat, things are moving in the right direction. They are certainly making me much happier. And I would kind of check in with myself as I was running. If my heart rate was high, I would say, okay, well, what's that from? Is it from the food that I've been eating? Is it from the stress that I'm under? Is it because of the weather? Like, what is the reason? So I started to really, journal and make notes and try to figure out what these things were, because I knew that if I could narrow it down to something, then be like, okay, I'm on track. I think I've got this. And as I did that, I became less and less of a victim, and I became more of an advocate for myself. And the more that I did that, the more I started to go down this positivity route to be able to narrow down what is causing these problems. So sometimes I would miss a video and I wouldn't post one. And other times I'd post my journals on YouTube and share, past journal entries and where I was at and things like that. And so I started to do that to say, hey guys, look, I'm being transparent. I'm sharing this with, all of you. And it's actually started to help me, because I was reading what had happened in the past and I'm like, I now see where I went wrong. I now see what happened. And sometimes you need to change things up. You need to run a little bit faster. You need to, have those days where you run a little bit longer. You need to have those days where you recover a little bit more. Look, there's so many different ways to train, and there's no one best way to train, because the one thing that I have learned time and time again is we are all different as runners. We have to accept that. So what works for one person may not work for another. So if I'm using the Maffetone method, or if I'm using zone 2, right, they're kind of interchangeable in a lot of ways. It may be a difference of 5 or 8 beats a minute difference in between the two of them. But as long as I'm running slowly and I can continue to keep doing this and not get injured, then that's a good thing. I'm going down the right direction. Having a dedicated setup in an office has really started to help my creative process. It's also allowed me to be able to kind of set things up and then leave them and not have to take down my whole setup in the living room and in the kitchen. Look, I'm gonna continue to make videos outside because that's where I live as a runner. But there are times where I just want to be able to sit down and have a conversation with you. And so this is a really good space for me now that I'm working at setting up a home studio. Look, getting a good night's sleep is super important. And one of the things that I have aimed for is about 7 to 8 hours sleep consistently. And you know what? It's really started to pay off, because the more rest that I get, I feel better. I'm able to perform better. I'm able to recover better, rinse and repeat again. And I'll tell you, it takes you to a good place. And it's like all these pillars. If you eat better and you're more positive and you're seeing the results, all of these other pillars on how you eat and how you handle stress, everything starts to change. So that was a big thing for me over the last number of months to be able to get to where I am today. So the question is, how do you lose weight when you're an overweight runner? This is how I did it. Mind you, it's not all about calorie in and calorie out. It's about the quality of the food that you're eating and how you're consuming it, and managing your stress level and setting yourself up for success. The majority of the time we fail to plan, not plan to fail. And that's true with me as well. So I've had to set up some goals for myself to stay away from the junk and stay focused on what I need to do. And right now, I'm training for a 100-miler one day next year. So it's hard to look at it that way. But even if it's a 5K or a 10K, or you just want to lose a little bit of weight, you can do it. I can do it. We can all do it. But it starts with the noggin. It starts with what's going on up in your head. I've been looking forward to this date. I knew things had changed, and I was really excited to see what had happened over the last 10 months. I'm down 19 pounds and I couldn't be happier. I could play the victim card all I want, but it's never gonna get me to what I want. So things changed, I've become a better person, and in doing so, I was able to lose those 19 pounds. And if you're struggling with weight, look, there are things that you can do. It's no secret that the quality of food that we eat has a direct effect on what it does to our body. And so if you're consuming a lot of junk food, a lot of sweets, a lot of white bread and pasta and things like that, muffins and cookies, guess what? You're gonna start packing on the weight. If you're running fast, you're not actually burning your fat. Like, you're not using fat. What energy source to use? And if you are insulin intolerant or have a sensitivity, then you may be gaining weight. And so doing Phil Maffetone's 2-week test is a good place to start. Look, I'm a plant-based runner. I don't eat meat, but you can still do this even if you are vegetarian or vegan. If you eat meat, that's cool. Go ahead and you can try it. It does work. You do need to cut certain things out before you start to see results, and then you can start adding things back in and figure out where those triggers are. Intermittent fasting is a great place to start. I don't eat breakfast. I go out for a run. That's it. I come back from my run, and if I need to go to work, to an appointment, then I will go ahead and do that, but I won't eat before I go. I'll actually kind of pack up a little bit of a lunch, take it with me, and then consume it later on in the day. Because when I finish a run, I'm not hungry. So that has allowed me to have a eating window, like 18 hours. When I go to bed, I'm not eating anything past 7 o'clock at night. And then I don't eat until like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. So that eating window has allowed, that eating window has allowed me to go a long period of time for my body to just start using my fat as a fuel source. The first thing I need to share with you is you need to get out of the pantry. Remove yourself from this space. Mindless eating doesn't do it. If I could put a lock on the door, I would, and I wouldn't go in here. Sometimes the refrigerator is like a battle zone. You open it up and you're like bombarded with all the stuff that's in here, and you literally just start reaching for things. Don't do it. So a number of you wanted to know what I eat after a run, and how do I do this by being vegan? Like, what do I have? So as you can see, I have tofu and I turn it into scrambled eggs, basically. And I throw in some nutritional yeast, some turmeric, salt, and I put it in a fry pan and mix it all up, and that will actually do me for probably 2 to 3 meals. I'll also get some avocado and slice that up. I'll actually spread that on my piece of toast, and I'll have some mushrooms. And I love mushrooms, but I'll also have it with hummus, which is really nice. And sometimes I'll have beans. Sometimes I'll have nuts and seeds like almonds or pistachios or stuff like that. But, ideally that's kind of what I have, right? And again, depending on what time of the day it is, I'll actually have some salad. Maybe I'll mix up a spinach salad with carrots and celery and pumpkin seeds and things like that. So I'll do that as well. So again, I'm just kind of trying to be flexible in how I eat. And I'm just trying to stay away from all of the sugar, because man, sugar is in so many things. Now I know that in my little bit of almond milk, if I make it myself, there's no sugar in it. But if I buy it, yeah, there's a little bit of sugar in there in a cup. So I don't have a cup, it's just a little bit for my coffee. So ideally, I keep the sugar really down to a minimum, but when I get out into reality, meaning when I get out into the world of, my work environment, things change, and I do my best to stay away from all of those sugary treats, because it kind of comes at me all over the place, right? So try to keep it at bay. It's working though. Where am I going from here? I'm just going to continue on with what I'm doing because it's working. And I will also be adding in a lot more trail running and distance to my training to mirror what I was doing in 2020. Because what I was doing then was amazing. And now that the weight is coming off, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more energy. I'm just more energized and I'm happier, and my pant size is dropping. I love it. It's feeling good. But I'm going in the right direction. there comes a time in your training that you need to mix it up. Continuously running slow is one thing. Building a base is great, but at the same time, the constant pounding on the concrete and asphalt can take a toll. Yeah, running on the trails becomes very technical. It's not the same thing as running on the roads. And I find there's a heck of a lot more hills on my trail run than there is on my road running. So there are ways that you can take your MAF training and apply it to trail running. It's tricky. You have to be very disciplined at it, but you can do it.